something happened that could change the history of Oak Island forever. After more than 2 centuries of searching, after countless theories and heartbreaking failures, Rick and Marty stood in shock as gold was finally detected. Not in a chest, not in a vault, but glimmering in the water itself. For many, it was the clearest sign yet that treasure still lay hidden beneath the island. For others, it was proof that Oak Island still had secrets it wasn't ready to give up. The discovery didn't end there. As the team pressed deeper into their investigation, they uncovered something even more astonishing: an old handmade ladder, perfectly preserved, leading down into a water-filled tunnel. It was a chilling moment. Who had built it? How long had it been waiting there in silence, hidden from the world? And what purpose did it serve? The ladder seemed to whisper of past explorers, men who had descended into the darkness centuries ago, perhaps searching for the very same treasure. The find raised haunting questions. Was the ladder left by treasure hunters of the 1800s, men who had once flooded the island with their digging operations? Or could it have belonged to someone far older, builders of the original money pit, or perhaps guardians of a treasure that many believe was never meant to be found? The waterlogged tunnel seemed to call out, daring the team to follow, but also warning them of the dangers below. Legends of Oak Island have always spoken of a curse that demanded 7 lives before the treasure could be revealed. To this day, 6 men have perished in the hunt, leaving a heavy shadow over every new dig. Now, with the ladder uncovered and gold in the water, that curse felt closer than ever. Would one more life be taken before the island finally gave up its greatest secret? The discovery of gold sparked a new wave of hope. For centuries, stories had circulated of pirate treasure buried deep underground. Some said it belonged to Captain Kidd. Others believed it was spoils of the Spanish Empire, while a growing argument argued it could be the lost wealth of the Knights Templar. Now, for the first time, science offered proof. Traces of real gold in the water. This wasn't myth. This wasn't just rumor. Something precious had been buried here, and the island was leaking its secret drop by drop. With renewed determination, the team expanded their search. They began studying not only Smith's Cove, but also the areas surrounding the garden shaft. 2 experts, Dr. Spooner and Dr. Michelle, had been testing the waters and found unusual results pointing to a spot they called the blob. Within that large area, they identified a smaller section they jokingly referred to as the baby blob. It was here that evidence suggested a tunnel might lie 95 feet below the surface, potentially leading to the heart of the treasure. The excitement was electric. The drilling rig was brought in and all eyes turned to Borehole DN 11.5. If their calculations were right, this could finally be the breakthrough that treasure hunters had dreamed of for over 2 centuries. As the rig powered downward, every grinding noise, every shift in the drill bit brought tension. Then, without warning, the drill cut into something unexpected, a hollow space. The operator reported a sudden drop, almost a void, about 1.5 feet wide, located 90 feet underground. The discovery sent a shockwave through the team. Could it be a man-made tunnel? Could it be the very passage built to hide or protect the treasure? Charles, the island historian, quickly contacted Rick, who rushed to the site. The drill operator explained how the bit had broken through an obstruction and entered the cavity. As speculation grew, Marty ordered a core sample to be taken. The long tube rose slowly from the depths, carrying with it fragments of wood. These pieces weren't ordinary wood. They looked aged, water-soaked, and fragile, as though they had been buried for centuries. The fragments could have been the remains of ancient timbers used to support a tunnel, or perhaps even pieces of a chest that once held gold. The samples were carefully handed over for analysis, and the results would prove astonishing. At the Oak Island Interpretive Center, metal archaeologist Emma Culligan revealed the findings. The wood itself carried traces of gold. The room erupted with excitement. This was no longer guesswork, no longer the dream of treasure hunters fueled by rumors. The evidence was physical, solid, undeniable. Gold had been buried beneath Oak Island, and the traces had seeped into the very wood of its hidden structures. For the team, it was proof they were closer than ever. But Oak Island, true to its nature, didn't make things easy. As drilling pushed forward, the team faced constant challenges, flooding shafts, collapsing ground, and the ever-present danger of unstable tunnels. They knew they had to move carefully. Still, their determination grew stronger. For every barrier the island threw in their path, they found new reasons to press on. Meanwhile, other parts of the island offered new mysteries. On Lot 26, Rick and team member Peter discovered an ancient stone wall. Its structure was unusual, almost out of place, as though it belonged to an earlier time or culture. Some suggested it might have been part of a boundary marker or even a defensive structure. Whatever its purpose, it added yet another layer to the puzzle of Oak Island's past. The team also revisited the discoveries of Fred Nolan, the legendary surveyor who had mapped strange features across the island decades earlier. Nolan had uncovered a massive cross-shaped formation known as Nolan's Cross. His son Tom now joined the search, bringing his father's notes and sketches. Among them was mention of a mysterious well filled with shards of pottery, a find that seemed too deliberate to be natural. Why would a well be packed with broken ceramics? Was it another hidden marker, or a container meant to disguise something more valuable? Each discovery seemed to connect to the others, as though the island was one enormous puzzle waiting to be solved. The traces of gold, the handmade ladder, the stone wall, Nolan's cross. Piece by piece, a picture was forming. But what was it leading to? A hidden vault of pirate gold? Sacred relics from ancient knights?
Perhaps something even stranger. Despite the growing weight of history and legend, the team pushed forward with drilling at the garden shaft. The goal was clear: to reach the depth where tunnels were believed to intersect. They planned 12 more boreholes, each one a chance to strike something significant. Every drill bit that turned, every core sample that rose to the surface, carried with it the possibility of the breakthrough they had been chasing for so long. The legend of Oak Island had always warned that treasure would not come without sacrifice. The story of 6 lost lives haunted the search, and yet the team continued. For them, the danger was worth it. They weren't just chasing gold, they were chasing history. The drilling process at Borehole DN11-5 had brought the entire team to the edge of their seats. When the operator announced that they had broken into a hollow space nearly 1.5 feet wide, the crew's excitement grew beyond measure. At 90 feet below the ground, this discovery could not be brushed off as a mere coincidence. It aligned perfectly with the depths where previous boreholes had hinted at tunnels or chambers. The fact that fragments of wood were recovered from this cavity raised even more speculation. Could it be part of an ancient chest, or the remains of a man-made structure created centuries ago? The wood, when analyzed, showed traces of gold. This revelation fueled a surge of hope that the search was heading in the right direction, that the answers they sought were perhaps closer than ever before. As news spread through the team, Rick and Marty wasted no time in preparing the next stage of the search. Plans were made to drill more boreholes around the area to determine whether a series of tunnels stretched beneath the island. The experts believed that these shafts might be part of a complex system designed either to protect the treasure or to mislead those attempting to find it. The idea of ancient engineers carefully constructing booby traps or flood tunnels centuries ago only made the discovery more fascinating. It suggested that whoever hid something on Oak Island intended for it to remain hidden for generations, perhaps forever. Meanwhile, another stunning discovery unfolded at the garden shaft. Marty descended further than ever before into the carefully reinforced structure. Each step down was like stepping deeper into the past. When he spotted the old, hand-carved wooden ladder perfectly preserved in the damp underground environment, the implications were staggering. This ladder was proof that someone had been here before them, working in the same darkness with the same determination to uncover something buried. Its craftsmanship suggested it wasn't a recent addition, but something built long ago, likely by treasure hunters or even the original people who may have hidden valuables on the island. The sight of the ladder filled the crew with awe and renewed motivation. They weren't just chasing shadows anymore. They were following in the footsteps of real people who once stood in the same spot centuries earlier. As work continued, the team's exploration extended to other areas of the island. On Lot 26, Rick and team member Peter came across an unusual stone wall. Unlike natural formations, this wall appeared deliberately constructed, its stones carefully arranged in a way that suggested human hands were behind it. For the team, it was another piece of a massive puzzle. Was this wall part of an old settlement? A marker left behind to indicate something important? Or perhaps a boundary connected to the mysterious cross-shaped formation known as Nolan's Cross, which surveyor Fred Nolan had uncovered years earlier. When Fred's son Tom joined the team, he brought his father's notes, sketches, and observations. Among them was an unusual well filled with pottery shards and a puzzling quadrilateral stone layout that looked anything like natural. Each of these finds added new dimensions to the mystery, pointing toward a deeper story about Oak Island's past. While the discoveries piled up, so too did the tension. The curse of Oak Island was never far from the team's thoughts. Legend said that 7 lives needed to be lost before the treasure would be found. With 6 already gone, every descent into a shaft or every drilling attempt carried an air of danger. The team members pushed forward with determination, but in the back of their minds, the chilling thought lingered. Would the island claim one more life before giving up its secrets? The further the drilling progressed, the more astonishing the results became. In one location, they encountered a large, empty void underground, measuring about 10 feet wide. To the team, this seemed like clear evidence of man-made tunnels or chambers. The excitement was impossible to contain. The idea that these could connect to the legendary money pit or lead directly to the treasure sparked speculation among all involved. And when an ancient cross was pulled from the ground in another area, the theory of a connection to the Knights Templars gained renewed strength. The Templars, medieval warriors rumored to have hidden sacred relics and treasures across the world, were often linked to Oak Island by researchers and enthusiasts. The possibility that the Holy Grail, or even the Ark of the Covenant, could be buried here made the discovery all the more electrifying. But Oak Island was not going to surrender its secrets easily. The deeper the team drilled, the more they realized how complex the underground system truly was. Unexpected air bubbles rising through the soil suggested hidden spaces, while rushing water pouring into shafts hinted at the flood tunnels many believed were constructed to guard the treasure. To overcome these obstacles, the team brought in the Duma Mining Company to help stabilize the shafts and keep water at bay. They reinforced key areas with concrete, a painstaking but necessary step if they were to dig deeper safely. For the Lagina brothers and their team, waiting through this process was difficult, but they knew patience was key. After all, if centuries-old treasure lay just beneath their feet, it was worth every moment. Through all of this, the search evolved from a simple hunt for gold into something much bigger. Each artifact found, from the old lead cross to the ancient tools and coins, hinted at a rich history that connected Oak Island to larger global events. It was as though the island itself,
Time capsule, preserving evidence of people who had traveled great distances and carried immense secrets. For the Laginas, the search became just as much about understanding who had come to Oak Island and why, as it was about the treasure itself. Theories abounded. Some believed pirates had buried their plunder here, carefully hiding it with traps and decoys. Others were convinced that religious groups like the Templars had brought their sacred treasures to this remote location to keep them safe from enemies. Still others thought Oak Island might have been a base for early explorers or secret societies who used it to protect maps, artifacts, or wealth of unimaginable value. Each theory only fueled the team's determination, as any one of them could hold the truth. The garden shaft, the baby blob, the mysterious stone walls, the pottery-filled well, and the hollow voids underground, all of these discoveries pointed to one undeniable fact. Oak Island held secrets yet to be revealed. Whether those secrets included gold, relics, or simply the remarkable history of those who came before, the hunt had taken on a life of its own. Every core sample, every artifact, and every wooden beam brought them closer to unraveling the story of this enigmatic island. And as the drilling continued, the excitement only grew stronger. Could the next borehole finally hit the chamber where the treasure was hidden? Could the next descent into the garden shaft reveal a tunnel leading directly to the legendary money pit? Or would Oak Island's curse strike again, reminding everyone that some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved? The team's work pressed on, with each new day on Oak Island bringing discoveries that were thrilling and mysterious. What made their journey so fascinating was that they weren't simply digging holes at random. Every move was guided by evidence, history, and careful study. When they uncovered that wooden ladder deep inside the garden shaft, it wasn't just a piece of timber. It was a message from the past. Someone, long before the Lagina brothers, had gone into the same ground with tools, determination, and purpose. The question remained, what were they after, and did they find it before leaving their tools behind? The fragments of gold found in the water samples only deepened the suspense. Gold particles don't just appear on their own in water unless there is a larger source nearby. Was there a buried chest leaking traces of its treasure into the underground water system? The experts, Dr. Spooner and Dr. Michelle, certainly thought so. They pinpointed the mysterious area they called the blob, and later the baby blob, narrowing down the possible location of whatever was hidden. This scientific approach gave the team more confidence. For once, they weren't simply following legends or rumors. They were following hard evidence that gold existed somewhere within reach. Meanwhile, history continued to echo all around them. The stone wall found on Lot 26 seemed like an ancient marker of some kind, but it wasn't the only strange feature. Friend Nolan's earlier discovery of Nolan's Cross had long been a puzzle to researchers. A massive cross-shaped formation made of boulders, it was too precise and deliberate to be natural. Many believed it was a symbol left by the Knights Templars, possibly pointing the way to something sacred. Now, with the new finds, the old theories about the Templars came roaring back to life. If the cross truly was a marker, then perhaps the treasures of the Templars, gold, relics, or sacred artifacts, were waiting somewhere beneath Oak Island. Tom Nolan's contributions added even more depth to the story. His father's notes contained sketches of puzzling stone layouts and even an unusual well filled with pottery shards. Why would a well, normally used for water, be filled with broken pottery? Was it a place of ritual, a storage pit, or another marker pointing to something deeper underground? The quadrilateral stone layout described in Fred Nolan's notes intrigued the team. It didn't seem like something left by chance. Instead, it looked intentional, as though it had meaning or purpose. Each piece of evidence added to the growing sense that Oak Island was far more than a pirate's hiding spot. It was a carefully designed site with layers of secrets. As drilling pressed deeper, the team encountered natural challenges. Shafts collapsed, water rushed in, and tunnels seemed to vanish into nothingness. Yet these challenges only supported the belief that the island was engineered to protect its secrets. The flood tunnels, for instance, were a subject of great interest. Many believed these were man-made, designed centuries ago to flood the money pit and make it impossible to retrieve treasure. The sudden surges of water pouring into the shafts during drilling matched the stories perfectly. For the team,
Every flood wasn't just an obstacle, it was proof that the treasure, or at least something important, was still waiting below. The discoveries didn't stop underground. On the surface, artifacts like coins, tools, and small fragments of wood continued to appear. Each one told a story. Coins hinted at travelers from different times and places. Tools suggested construction, digging, and planning. The lead cross, perhaps the most famous artifact found so far, still stood as one of the strongest pieces of evidence tying Oak Island to the Knights Templars. It wasn't just a treasure hunt anymore. It was archaeology, history, and mystery all rolled into one. Legends of the curse loomed heavily over the island as well. 6 lives had already been lost in pursuit of the treasure, and the legend warned that 7 must die before the treasure would be revealed. While some saw it as superstition, others couldn't ignore